the outer region. Basically, this means Mathura and Dwarka. As you see in that up on the screen up here, those colored portions, at least the way the artists depicted it, Mathura and Dwarka are in that perimeter region. In between is also Jagannath Puri. Yeah, so that's just the artist's rendering. We don't need to visualize or conceptualize. The mantra, the yantra that I've shown you doesn't say like that. So it's just in that region outside. That's what's important. In his Krishna Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami discusses exactly this. After describing, he says, after describing the places where the Lord enacts his transcendental Braja Leela, he writes, "There are many places on this earth planet where the Supreme Lord enjoyed various pastimes. These places are actually situated in the Vaikuntha world." Now, if we look at our chart on the left, the Vaikuntha world is right in the middle, Haridam, and above that is Ayodhya, in that kind of little yellow area. And then above that is Golokadam, and Svetadweep is part of the Golokadam position. So here, at least in Krishna Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami, consistent with Sanatan Goswami, is indicating Mathura and Dwarka, which are within Goloka, have some, in fact, strong aspects of the mood of Vaikuntha, the mood of opulence, particularly Dwarka, but to some extent also Mathura. So Jiva Goswami is saying these places, these abodes, are like Vaikuntha, or like exhibiting majesty and opulence, where that, and that's the mood of the devotees there. He goes on. These places are actually situated in the Vaikuntha world. They are, 1, beyond the touch of the material energy. All of them. Because the material energy is down below. Down below is the river Viraja, and on the other side of the river Viraja is the material energy, and on this side of the river Viraja is the spiritual energy, the spiritual position, the abode of the Supreme Lord. So each of these places, they're beyond the touch of the material energy. And they're also eternal. That is to say, when that area down below is destroyed, they're not destroyed. There may be pastime places of the Lord within that field of the material energy. That's also not destroyed. They're eternal. As on the other side of the river Viraja. They're not destroyed. They're eternal. The third, he says, is they're uncommon, which is like what we were describing. We shouldn't make the mistake of imposing material conceptions on that which is not material. We shouldn't think of Krishna's place of pastimes as material, as we might think of something that's common and of this world. Although it may be in this world, they're not of this world, they're uncommon. And 4, they are the eternal abodes of the personality of Godhead. The description of these holy tirthas is found in various Vedic literatures. So tirthas, meaning a place of pilgrimage, a place where Krishna performs his pastimes, and one may go there for purification because it's transcendental. It's non-different than the upper region from which those places the Lord makes his appearance and manifests. His transcendental abode is eternally present here in this realm also, like an embassy. And then he concludes, the Lord's many favorite cities that rest on the earth also exist in Vaikuntha, so that the Lord may enjoy different pastimes in them. So he likes yada yada hi dharma shaglanir bhavati. From time to time he descends. Srajam yaham. And he descends in those abodes. Sometimes people ask this question, especially I get asked it a lot in China. How come all these places of Krishna's appearances take place in India? Why not, at least one or two in China, or forget Japan, but China, and maybe some other places. And one answer that Prabhupada has given is that Krishna is not attracted to appear where people are so grossly impious. He's attracted to appear where his devotees are. And those places where his devotees are largely in India, and largely in India because the places for their purification are in India. So it's just the Lord's arrangement. Punya Bhumi, the land of India, is very special because of the Lord's places of pastimes and the tendency, although Kali Yuga is rapidly modifying all of that, the tendency for pious activity, the tendency for devotion to Krishna. The tendency like that is very natural. Of course, there's other parts of the world where attraction for Krishna is very natural and very easy. Without descriptions, from the course of my travel, I've seen it. It's just magical. They're very, very easily, readily attracted to Krishna. That makes a place of Krishna's pastimes. Because of that attraction for Krishna, there's kirtan and there's devotional service, and Krishna is attracted and Krishna comes. It's like, this is one of the 7 stated purposes of ISKCON, is penned by Srila Prabhupada, to establish places of pastimes of Krishna. Well, Krishna can do that, he can appear. But if the devotees engage in devotional service and chant his holy name and establish temples like this, where regularly Krishna is worshipped and dressed and decorated and fed and chanted and glorified and so forth, makes this a place of Krishna's pastimes. Same thing as what goes on in the spiritual world. Establishing temples. But Prabhupada wrote, places of pastimes of Krishna. And you don't have to have a temple. You can just have wonderful kirtan. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's method. So you're still on this, what's shown on the screen here, the abodes of the 4 Chaturvyuha personalities. These personalities are expansions of Krishna, who is at the center. So Krishna expands as Vasudeva, and then the other Chaturvyuha members similarly expand. Balaram expands as Sankarshan, and Pradyumna and Aniruddha are also manifest. If we have time at the end, I'll read from Varaha Purana a description of the abodes, the trees and the palaces and the places and the avenues and the parks and the abodes of the Chaturvyuha. Just as we're given lots of nice description about Krishna's Vrindavan, there's the abodes of these 4 Chaturvyuhas described in Varaha Purana. In Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Laghu Bhagavatamrita is it's a description of the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. It's like a commentary on Canto 1, Chapter 3. Canto 1, Chapter 3, especially the the bulk of it, the beginning part through most of it. It's a response, it's Sutta Goswami's response to the sage's question, please describe those forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. Laghu Bhagavatamrita is a commentary on that. It's just a description of the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world, and he goes through it 4 times over. Verse by verse, he comments on chapter 3, and then he goes back, and then he divides the categories, and he discusses them once again, and he does it again, and he does it again. It's exhaustive. It's very beautiful and eloquent and fascinating and charming, and some of these charts, especially the one on the left, draws from Laghu Bhagavatamrita. So here's Rupa Goswami's description of Vasudeva of the Svetadweep area. Here's what he writes. Laghu Bhagavatamrita. The Krishna known as Yadukumar, Yadu dynasty resides where? Dwarka. So Krishna in Dwarka is Yadukumar, is Vasudeva Krishna in the outer region, the Svetadweep region. He is different from the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Not different and different. Here's the difference. Yadukumar Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwarka. But Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. That's Govinda, if you remember from the first day. They're the same, but Govinda specifically is with his flute. And Krishna doesn't carry his flute when he goes to Mathura and Dwarka. He has other paraphernalia. Vrindavan Krishna always has 2 arms. He never has 4 arms. He eternally enjoys pastimes with a certain gopi. That's a quote by Rupa Goswami from Yamala Tantra. Continuing, Laghu Bhagavatamrita. In his prakat form, remember that term? Prakat and prakat? In his prakat form, Lord Krishna goes to the Yadu's capital, Mathura. Concealing his real identity as the son of the Vraja's king, he shows himself as Lord Vasudeva. Vasudeva sometimes has 2 arms and sometimes 4 arms, and is dependent upon the love or the mood of love of those who he interacts with. Krishna discloses, he reciprocates with their love. He discloses a form suitable for their love. Continuing, this is still Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami. Just as, this is important, listen carefully, just as Lord Vasudeva is the expansion of Lord Krishna, his queens in Dwaraka are expansions of Krishna's gopis. This is an important part of Rupa Goswami's message. It's esoteric, but it's an important part of his message. This is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is now no longer Rupa Goswami. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this in his commentary on Bhagavatam 10:59-43, wherein he quotes Kartik Mahatmya section of the Padma Purana. And he quotes the Sanskrit. Those who were, quote, those who were daughters of cowherds in their early youth became royal princesses in their maturity, unquote. They expanded. This detail is described. They expanded themselves because they're expansions of Radha, And they expanded themselves to participate with Krishna in his pastimes in Dwaraka, because they're to assist Krishna in his pastimes. As Krishna expands himself as Vasudeva, they expand themselves to be his wives. And in Braja, they're gopis. In Dwaraka, they're wives. You follow? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds, therefore, just as the Lord of Dwaraka, Vasudeva Krishna, is a plenary expansion of the supremely complete Lord of Sri Vrindavan, so his principal queens are full expansions of his supremely complete pleasure potencies, the gopis. It's a deep mystery. And if you really want to scratch your head, read Rupa Goswami's two dramas, Vidagdha Madhava and Lalita Madhava. But an essential thread that runs through that is what I just read. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirming. From Padma Purana, it's not he made it up, or that would be a cute way to explain things. It's scripturally based, but he just goes very, very deeply into the subject. I'll just share this detail with you. It's Rupa Goswami was composing a drama about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. Just as Jiva Goswami is giving his commentary on Krishna and the abode of Krishna, Rupa Goswami wanted to write a drama. Not fiction drama, but a drama about Krishna's pastimes. And as he was composing that drama, in writing, as well in his mind, conceiving of the drama, as a literary person will do before they write, he then received some instruction from Satyabhama, confirmed by Lord Chaitanya. It should be two dramas: Krishna in Vrindavan and Krishna outside of Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya told him, don't take Krishna out of Vrindavan. He's always in Vrindavan. He didn't give a detail, he just make two dramas. He didn't say make two dramas, he just don't take Krishna out of Vrindavan. Govinda, Gopinath, they stay in Vrindavan. I hear you're composing a drama. Don't take Govinda out of Vrindavan. That's all he said. So Rupa Goswami then made two dramas. When we visited Raval, which is the birthplace of Srimati Radharani and where she lived in the early part of her life, as Krishna lived in Gokul at the palace of Nanda and Jasoda, in Gokul, not Nandagram, but on the eastern side of the river Jamuna. There's a parallel description found in Lalita Madhava Vidagdha Madhava, of a very amazing appearance of Radharani, different than the one that we hear at Raval. Without all the detail, Radha and Chandravali, by the arrangement of the Yogamaya potency, were taken from the arms or the chest carrying the two children, the two daughters, Chandravali and Radharani. Putana came and kidnapped them. Before that, they were taken to become the daughters of the Vindhya Hills. That's correct. Then Putana came and kidnapped from the Vindhya Hills, and as Putana was carrying them away, flying through the air, as witches can do, on broomsticks, she was flying through the air. Vindhya engaged his brahmanas in creating a curse that would kill the kidnappers of her daughters, his daughters. Putana became very afraid, knowing that this curse was chasing after her. So one of the daughters, she dropped in a river in the kingdom of Bhishmaka. Who's that? Rukmini's father. That's Chandravali. The plot thickens, it just goes on and on. Radharani later was placed somewhere, and Purnamasi said, I came and then entrusted Radharani to Vrishabhanu and said, here's your daughter back. Very, very mysterious. That's how Radharani, one of the presentations of how Radharani became the daughter of Vrishabhanu. But then later, Purnamasi says, these gopis, and she describes other things with gopis, they expanded themselves to become queens of Krishna and Dwaraka. Purnamasi is Yogamaya. And she's speaking to Gargi, who is the daughter of Sandipani Muni, and Gargi says, how did you learn all this? She said, I heard it from Narada Muni, my spiritual master. And on this basis, this is my devotion to Radha and Krishna. And Gargi says, my father cannot be wrong. He's said all these things also, but I can't understand it. So don't worry, we can't understand it. The daughter of Sandipani Muni can't understand it. She said, but one day maybe I will understand. So the gopis expanded themselves to become, you know, those 16,100 princesses? That's the gopis. They desired to have Krishna as their husband. So in one of the multiple leelas in which Krishna arranges to become their husband, they expand themselves and become Krishna's husband. That's Lalita Madhava. Excuse me, Vidagdha Madhava. Lalita Madhava is Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. Excuse me for this detour, I'm going away from Brahma Samhita, but it's nice. In Dwarka, Krishna has such love for Vrindavan. Uddhava, recognizing that love that Krishna has for Vrindavan, he has an idea. He decides to create a drama of Krishna's performing pastimes in Vrindavan with Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna in the audience. So it's a drama within a drama within a drama. And as Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, sees Krishna in Vrindavan on the stage, he becomes so attracted, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radha, so attracted, even Vasudeva Krishna becomes attracted to Brajendra Nandana Krishna. And he describes his attraction, and he starts running for the stage with his arms outstretched, and Uddhava holds him around the waist. No, it's just a drama. It's just a drama. And the final scene of Lalita Madhava, the final scene is in Dwarka. Krishna realizes that he's Krishna in Vrindavan. Satyabhama realizes that she's Radharani, and they get married in Dwarka. And Radharani asks, Krishna says, Radharani, please take some benediction from me. So she asks for two. One is something like, always be compassionate upon your devotees and display your wonderful pastimes so that they can become satisfied and filled with their love and devotion for you. And the other is, please always keep the gopis, us gopis, in your intimate association. Krishna says, so be it. Then there's a question that's raised I think it's Radharani that someone raises the question, how is this possible? We're in Dwarka. And Radha and Krishna are in Dwarka. So what's going on? Like, we might wonder, what's going on? And the Yogamaya potency in Dwarka, who is commonly called Subhadra, but in this case it's Ekanangsa, she comes rushing onto the stage and pulls back a curtain and shows it's actually Vrindavan. Figure that one out, huh? These expansions of Krishna are to satisfy the particular type of love. And the love of Vrindavan is very special. We're going to hear a little bit about that from Bhaktisiddhanta in his purport. Now we're hearing about the outer region, the Svetadweep region, where Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha reside. Back to Brahma Samhita, the important thing for us to understand out of all of this, besides, wow, that was interesting, is Krishna's at the center. He is the source of all potencies. He's the source of emanation of all potencies. And everything is an expansion of his potencies or himself. So as we're describing Svetadweep, it's Krishna's expanding himself and Krishna's various potencies. That's all. And it's to reciprocate with the love of the residents who have that particular disposition. And when this is all done, we're going to go in the next class after breakfast to down in that lower region where it's the causal ocean, Mahavishnu. It's another mood. And then Krishna's reciprocating with, or Mahavishnu's reciprocating with those personalities, the living entities who are within his transcendental body at the time of cosmic annihilation, and his desire for them to come once again to the upper region, on the other side of the river Viraja. But all of that, just to repeat, it's just an expansion of Krishna, because that's what Mahavishnu is, or who Mahavishnu is, and Krishna's potencies that have their position in the spiritual world, and they expand themselves to accommodate the desires of the living entities who are, in this realm, rebellious. But it's his potencies, like Maya Dyakshena Prakriti, Suyate Sacharacharam from Bhagavad Gita. It's all under Krishna's Adyaksha. He's overseeing. He does so through his personal expansions, because he's fully occupied with enjoying pastimes in Braja. But to accommodate, it's just a loving exchange between living entities and the Supreme Lord. That's the world where we are now, and it's the Vaikuntha realm, it's the Ayodhya realm, it's the Svetadweep realm, it's the Vraja realm, and we're being encouraged by Jiva Goswami and Lord Brahma and our acharyas to focus our attention on Krishna and Vrindavan. But all the other realms are also Krishna and Krishna's energies. Prabhupada said it this way. There's only two things. There's Krishna and there's Krishna's expansions, or Krishnas. There's Krishna and there's Krishnas, and there's not a third thing in all of creation. There's no void in creation. Sometimes, out of frustration, there's a void philosophy that's generated. And there's no such thing. There's only Krishna and Krishnas, and not a third thing. Okay, well that's first on our list here of the things that are described in text number 5. Also mentioned in text number 5 are the 4 Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. That may be surprising. Probably should be surprising, because these 4 Vedas, they're the basis of karmakanda. Rituals that person who wish for material elevation and fulfillment of material desires, they approach. They worship the worship of various devas through different procedures and rituals and mantras, so they can achieve fulfillment in this world and achieve a higher destination after. That's commonly what the 4 Vedas are down here in this realm. But in the Goloka realm, in Svetadweep, they're only doing one thing. They're just glorifying Krishna. They're just glorifying Krishna, because that's the purpose of all the Vedas, isn't it? Vedaishtasayar vair aham eva vedyo. That's the purpose of the Vedas. So in Svetadweep, that's all they're doing. Nothing else. Just glorifying Krishna in various wonderful ways. The penultimate, or the perfection of the Vedas, is found in Svetadweep. And the fruits, piety, wealth, passion, and liberation, or dharma, artha, kama, moksha. One might wonder why. Why is that going on? But the examples are given by Jiva Goswami in the form of piety, the performance of duties in their perfect form. Consider Nanda Maharaj. He's in the Vaishya community, and he's doing his duties of taking care of the cows. We can even say Krishna's cows. Perfectly. He's perfectly executing his dharma. And as far as artha, wealth, the treasury of Nanda Maharaj is fully utilized for one purpose only: the service of Krishna, the happiness of Krishna. Perfect stage of artha. And kama, we'll hear this a little bit later, but in this section, Jiva Goswami describes, on this realm there's kama of the kind where one desires one's own sense gratification. In this case, it's intense desire for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna. Perfectly, most perfectly exhibited by the gopis. Not a tinge or trace of anything selfish or independent enjoyment. It's entirely the satisfaction of Krishna's senses. And liberation is already included. Liberation is as standing at the doorway. But all the beings, the residents of Goloka, in both the Vraja and the Svetadweep regions, they're already liberated in their perfect stage, as Prabhupada calls it in the Bhagavatam, ultimate liberation. Pure love of God, not just sayuja, pure love of God. And the 10 tridents that are in the 10 directions. This is for keeping people unqualified out. Similarly with the Digpals, they're mentioned also. But the 10 tridents, a trident is a spear with 3 prongs. And the indication of Jiva Goswami is these 3 prongs indicate the 3 modes of nature and the 3 phases of time. Yesterday there was some discussion about time. So those that are still affected by and interested in the modes of nature or the phases of time, the tridents keep them out. And the Digpals, with their protectors of the Dham, specifically, well, here's Jiva Goswami's description from Krishna Sandarbha of this little section. A passage from Sri Harivamsa explains Beyond heaven lies the transcendental realm, which is inhabited by the personified great sages and the Lord's personal associates. There can be found the ultimate destination of Lord Shiva and self-realized souls who merge into the Lord's Brahma Jyoti effulgence. Above it is the planet of the Surabhi cows, guarded by the Sadhya deities, these Dikpals. O Krishna, situated amid an infinite spiritual sky, that planet is supreme and all-expansive. So Jiva Goswami gives his explanation that these Sadhya demigods indicates not like the demigods of this created realm where they oversee the affairs of the universe. These are prototype demigods. That's Bhaktisiddhanta's description. So in Shvetadweep, there are Sadhya demigods or Dikpals, and their service is to keep unqualified people out. They're guardians of the Dham. So those that are attracted by the modes of nature, those that are influenced by, even to some slight remaining degree, by the phases of time, Jiva Goswami writes, they're pierced asunder by the tridents placed in 10 directions and prohibited from entering by the Digpals. So if you want to go to Vrindavan, to enter into Krishna's abode in Vrindavan, you have to be qualified. And in the purport, I'm not going to go into it, but in detail, Bhaktisiddhanta starts making lists of those that don't make it. The yogis, the gyanis, ashtangis. He says people who are less forward in their intelligence, who are attracted by various mantras, the gift-giving demigods, Bhaktisiddhanta calls. You want something, very well, here's the something you wish. So those that have that kind of interest or attraction, it's good news. When we go to the spiritual, the Goloka realm, we're not going to have all this confusion. They're not going to have people that have like egos and that, quarrel with each other, and you can't enter if you have that disposition. And so, but there are places of residence for each of those personalities, and I'm not going to read it. It's very nice. You can read it in his purport, Bhaktisiddhanta's purport to this verse. But there are places of residences for those that are not so qualified as the residents of Vaikuntha are qualified. And then he makes reference, if you have your book, Sri Brahma Samhita, I can't find. Oh, there it is. His paragraphs, of course, are really long. It's towards the very end of the first paragraph. These page numbers, it's 14 and 15, the bottom of page 14. He's making reference to chapters that are found in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, where there's 5 types of devotees. The other lists are non-devotees, but 5 types of devotees. They can enter Vaikuntha, or they can enter Mathura and Dwarka, but they cannot enter that central region, Braja, where Radha and Krishna reside, and the gopis reside, and the residents of Vrindavan reside. So there's 5 stages Jnana Bhakta. Devotees where the devotion is actuated by knowledge. An example that's given is Bharat Maharaj. Devotion that's activated by knowledge. And then there's a certain destination for such personalities. And then above that is Shuddha Bhakta, where the practice of, it's a long section, I could read the long section, but I'll just make it simple. By practice of sadhana bhakti, which we're doing, and one who becomes perfect at the practice of sadhana bhakti can attain Shuddha Bhakti. And an example of that is Ambarish Maharaj, and the destination of Ambarish Maharaj is Vaikuntha. And above that is Prema Bhakta, devotees that are imbued with pure devotion. An example given in Brihad Bhagavatamrita is Hanuman. He's activated, just devotion to opportunity for service to Krishna, or to Ram, excuse me. He's fully enlivened. And so you see on the chart above Vaikuntha realm, that's the one it's in blue, above that one is the smaller region, Ayodhya. Above the Vaikuntha region is Ayodhya, but still, in one sense, within the Vaikuntha realm. Then, the devotees that are actuated by pure love, intimate association with the Supreme Lord, like the Pandavas. And where do the Pandavas reside? Hastinapur. And then above that, the devotees impelled by overwhelming love, who serve the majesty of Godhead. That's in Dwarka, the Yadu dynasty, where Vasudeva Krishna resides. So the point is, there are residences where the Lord reciprocates with the particular love of his devotee. We could think of it in terms of, Krishna shows a particular form and devotees are attracted to that particular form. But another way, from the other side, it's devotees have a particular type of love. The Lord shows a form to them to correspond with their particular type of love, and there's an abode, a place where they serve Krishna, worship Krishna, love Krishna. But above all, this Sri Brahma Samhita is indicating the topmost of all is Goloka. And what is the nature of that topmost region? The intimacy of love is so profound that the majesty of the Supreme Lord is overlooked. So now we'll go on, because what I just said connects with these next items. Extraordinary potencies bearing the name Vimala, etc. Now we don't normally hear about Vimala, etc. Although the name given to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at the time of his birth was Bimala Prasad. Now there's Bimala Devi in this material realm, but there's extraordinary potencies in the Svetadweep realm. I'm going to, a little scriptural reference in that regard. Found in Hari Bhakti Vilas in relation to deity worship. There's particularly 9 potencies, and also spoken by Krishna to Uddhava. When Krishna is describing to Uddhava the process of deity worship of him, he mentions these same 9 potencies. In the verse it's Vimala, etc., and here's the 9 potencies. You can look it up. It's in Uddhava Gita, 11th canto. Vimala, Utkarshini, Jnana, Kriya, Yoga, Pravi, Satya, Ishana, and Anugraha. So these are potencies that detail isn't given, so I can't expand or further explain. But they're potencies that are specifically appropriate in deity worship. And they're found in Svetadweep. And so there's extraordinary opulences and potencies found in that Svetadweep region. Later we're going to hear again about Mahavishnu and his abode, and because Krishna and Arjuna go there, remember, in search for the sons of the Brahmana. They go to the abode of Mahavishnu. So when we get there, I'll read the description, because each personality has his abode, each of the forms of the Lord, and then there's the situation in those abodes, and there's these opulences that exist in the realm of Mahavishnu as they exist in Svetadweep. They are there for persons who are attracted to opulences and potencies. Also mentioned is the 8 jewels. We don't commonly hear about the 8 jewels, but reference for them is found in the 10th canto, chapter 50, where Dwarka is being described. And in that description of Dwarka, to honor Krishna, Kuvera gave his most precious jewels to Krishna. Like the Shamantaka jewel was Krishna wanted Satraja to give it to Ugrasena because it should be the property of the king. But Kuvera was a devotee of Krishna, so he gave his greatest treasure, these 8 mystical opulences, to Krishna to reside in Dwarka, named Padma, Mahapadma, Matsya Kurma, Audaka, Nila, Mukunda, and Shankha. So again, the point is, those that are attracted to opulence, you'll find it abundant in Dwarka. It's where the Aishvarya is even greater than that found in Vaikuntha, the opulence of Dwarka. When during the summer, the children, there's a Gita camp for children, and so one year they covered chapter 10, the opulences of the Absolute. So one of the projects to help the children appreciate the opulences of the Absolute is they read the section on Dwarka, and then they built a Dwarka city. One of the devotees was an architect. So she made a plan whereby the kids could make cutout things and styrofoam this and that, and made a huge Dwarka city. It was so fantastic that they showcased it at different schools when schools were having their appreciation, cultural diversity. And they would focus on India, so they put it in the showcase window for this is the opulence of Dwarka. The kids were really happy that all their work got, and then they were invited to come and make a presentation on India and the glories of India and the opulence of India and the cultural, multicultural appreciation function. So Dwarka is known for its unlimited exhibition of opulence. And those that are so attracted, they find their place in Dwarka. But to enter into Vrindavan, such opulence is not the feature of attraction. There's a very long and beautiful description of this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is leaving the Jagannath temple in order to demand for Jagannath to come back and take his place in the temple, because he's over there in Gundicha representing Vrindavan, enjoying his happiness in Vrindavan. So that she's taken out of the temple with all of her servants in procession, grand exhibition of opulence, demanding that Jagannath comes back. So while observing that festival, Srivas Pandit, or Srivas Thakur, is really happy. Just see the opulence of my goddess, Lakshmi. She puts to shame any other opulence anywhere in the spiritual and material world. He's like so happy. And Lord Chaitanya notes his enthusiasm for worship of goddess Lakshmi. And he asks Swarup Damodar, what do you think about that, Swarup Damodar? Is the opulence of Vrindavan less than the opulence of Vaikuntha? And he gives such a simple and beautiful presentation of the opulence of Vrindavan far surpasses, but the Dwarka or Puri or Vaikuntha. But it's a different kind of opulence, where everything there is, just as earlier described, for the service of Krishna. Entirely. Everything is made of Chintamani stones. In Jiva Goswami's writing, he says the residents of Vrindavan, everything there is Chintamani, and one of the things that they use is, in the thong in their sandals, the little piece that goes in the middle, they put it in the top. They're like a decoration. And if they have really big ones, they use it as a doorstop. So the door is open and they can see Krishna coming down the path as he's returning from herding the cows. It's something like Jambavan and his disinterest in the Shamantaka jewel. So he gave it to his child to play with. Like that. The residents of Vrindavan are not interested in awe and splendor and that kind of opulence. The trees are Kalpavriksha trees. The cows are Surabhi cows. But their interest in receiving something from the Kalpavriksha trees is just for service to Krishna, that's all. There's nothing else. That's the love of Vrindavan. And the intensity of that love is also overwhelming. So that's the message that we're hearing here. Last but not least, in this list of what's in the Svetadweep region, is associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red, and white. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spends most of his, it's a 4-page purport, 4.5-page purport, discussing this point. And it goes as follows. There's associates, just like when Gargamuni performed the name-giving ceremony for Krishna on behalf of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna and Balaram. And he speaks there, a very important verse, where this child of yours, in previous lifetimes, he was of the hue of red, white, and yellow. Shukla Rakta Tata Pita. Indicating Krishna in other situations is these, as is being described here, the Yuga avatars. So that Yuga avatar who's Pita, or yellow, or Gora, or golden, is Lord Chaitanya. So he explains, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, with reference to Gopal Champu and other texts. Gopal Champu is a text by Jiva Goswami, that in the Svetadweep region, this question was asked earlier in one of the classes, Lord Chaitanya has his residence. I'm going to read just a couple of things. The first reference is from Vrindavan Das Thakur. Who is Vrindavan Das Thakur? He's the principal biographer of Lord Chaitanya's life. He's the Vyas of Gaura Lila. As Vyas compiled Krishna's pastimes, Vrindavan Das compiled Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And the book is today known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur refers to the abode of Lord Chaitanya as Sweta Dweep. The reason is, that's his abode. Sweta Dweep. See, you get the picture up. In that white external region. You see in the four corners is Vasudeva, Pradumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan, the abodes of the Chaturvyuha. But it's also the abodes of these four: yellow, white, red, and blue. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we often see in pictures, like paintings, there's Krishna, and there's four quadrants: Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, and Navadweep, because Lord Chaitanya eternally resides there, in Swetadweep or Navadweep. So I'm going to read. Hence, Srila Thakur Vrindavan, the manifest Vyas of Chaitanya Lila, has described the village of Navadweep as bearing the name Swetadweep. In this Swetadweep, the concluding portions of the pastimes of Gokula exist eternally as the pastimes of Navadweep. Hence, the region of Navadweep, Braja, and the realm of Gokula, Goloka, are one and the same, indivisible entity. The difference only lies in the manifestations of the infinite variety of sentiments corresponding to the diverse nature of their devotional love. There is, in this most hidden principle, which only the greatest souls are possessed, who are possessed of the highest transcendental love, are unable to realize by the direct grace of Krishna. In other words, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we say, is Krishna himself, because he's Krishna himself. But he's Krishna himself in the mood of Radha, because Bhaktisiddhanta explains, we may think of this outer region, because it's not the inner region, it's less important. You know, like suburbs or something. There's like Manhattan, and then there's the rest of New York City. What's really important is, but while that may be true, Swetadweep is not less important than the inner region, Braja. In fact, he explains, it makes the inner region complete, or without it, it's incomplete. So what does that mean? So he goes into the description, as we find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that when Krishna performed his pastimes in Gokula, upon completion of his pastimes, he began to consider, I see that Radha has a happiness 10 million times greater than my happiness. And how is that possible? Because I'm the personality of Godhead. But her happiness is greater than my happiness. Not by a little bit, 10 million times greater. I want to experience that happiness. And I'm the Supreme, so I should be able to do everything. But I can't experience that happiness because she's the abode of love and I'm the object of love, so I have to take the position of the abode of love regarding the object of love to make my experience of my pastimes complete. That's Lord Chaitanya. And his residence is in Swetadweep or Navadweep. So Navadweep is none different than Swetadweep. And Svetadvipa is making complete, therefore it's part of Gokula or Goloka, makes Goloka complete. Just again, I'm just going to read a few sentences from the rest of his purport, page 15. The identical devotees of Vraja and Navadvip simultaneously attain pleasures of service in the realm of Krishna and Gora. What he's saying here is, when you attain that state of Vastu Gata, remember from yesterday? Swarup Gata and Vastu Gata, where there's not even any touch. You understand Krishna, and there's no touch of anything material, contact and attraction. One who attains that stage, who is a follower of Lord Chaitanya, when you go back to Godhead, you'll attain a form both in Gokula and in Svetadvip. Doesn't describe the technology of how that happens. But simultaneously you'll take part in Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Svetadvip. Simultaneously. Fascinating, isn't it? And take it the other way around. We say each of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, they have their counterpart in Krishna Lila. Isn't it? Srivas Thakur is Narada Muni. Gadadhar Pandit is Radharani. And so forth. Everyone they have their counterpart. Because in the spiritual world, they're simultaneously both taking part in Krishna's Lila and taking part in Gaura's Lila. And when Lord Chaitanya descends, they manifest their forms of taking part in Gaura's Lila. They eternally are situated like that. Not occasionally. Eternally they're situated like that. It's a deep mystery. Very profound, deep mystery. But this is the nature of Lord Chaitanya. Very, very deep and very profound. The gist of the whole matter is this. Goloka, as Svetadvip, is eternally manifest because the pleasures of enjoyment of the rasa could not be had in its entirety in the pastimes of Krishna in Braja. Krishna, who is complete, because he's Atmaram, he's everything. One thing that was not possible for him was experiencing the love of Radha and the happiness that she experiences in that love, and the way that she experiences his qualities that incite her love and her happiness. That is fulfilled in Gora, who has his residence in Golokadam, that portion called Svetadvip. Fascinating. One other little passage, and I think we're done. In Navadvip, this is the last paragraph, or last page of the purport, page 16 if you have your book. In Navadvip, the identical realm of Goloka, on the bank of the Ganges, Gaurachandra, who is Govinda, the entity of pure cognition, who has two hands, who is the soul of all souls, who has the supreme great personality as the great meditative sannyasin, and who is beyond the threefold mundane attributes, makes the process of pure devotional, pure unalloyed devotional service manifest in this mundane world. That's his external reason. He comes to give love of God, the Yuga Dharma. He is soul, S-O-L-E, Godhead. He is the source of all forms, the Supreme Soul, and is Godhead manifesting himself in yellow, red, blue, and white colors. He is directly the entity of pure cognition, full of spiritual or chit potency. He is the figure of the devotee. He is the bestower of devotion and cognizable by devotion alone. The self-same Gaurachandra, who is none other than Krishna himself. In order to taste, and he goes on, in order to taste rasa of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Gokula, manifests as Navadvip in his form of Gaurachandra. So that's why the purport is so long. It's a very mysterious presentation, just out of that, the 4 words in this text 5. The associates of the hue, red, blue, yellow, and white. That's Navadvip, or in Svetadvip. Lord Chaitanya's presence is there, making Gokula complete. So I have some further pictures just to illustrate what we've described. Here's our yantra, and as you see, well, what's going to appear next is the 4 Vedas. Watch slowly around the 4 sides, the syllables of the Sanskrit alphabet, and then up in the upper left-hand corner, piety, wealth, passion, and liberation. This is just what that yantra says, and it's depicted this way in the full yantra in Sanskrit. The associates of the hue, yellow, red, blue, and white. In the lower right corner, extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Vimala, etc. Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. The 10 Digpals, and then these mystical gems, Mahapadma, Padma, etc., 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 etc. They fill this outer region. So around that blue circle is that outer region. And the tridents in the 10 directions are also manifest. And all of that's depicted in this image. So if you look closely, you'll see these are the abodes of the Chaturvyuha, each of these yellow orbs. The 4 Vedas are pictured here also. Outside of that is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The name Svetadvip is indicated here, and Mathura, Puri, Dwarka are indicated here. And I think that does it. Doesn't show the tridents, but they're there. Keeping unqualified people. And the Digpals are there. So, we're done with describing the abode of Krishna. As text 2 said, now these verses are going to be describing the abode of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. The next verse is a transition verse. We'll just show it now and then we'll discuss it later. The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. So it's a bridge verse into describing the mundane potency and the process of creation. So that's what's going to be our subject matter after breakfast. The process of creation. It runs for several verses. The last slide in this section, you'll see in that white area surrounding the hexagonal image. This is text 27. That it's illustrating the in the yantra. It's the cover picture of Brahma Samhita. It's Lord Brahma hearing the flute song of Krishna, and then the Gayatri mantra, Kam Gayatri mantra, manifests from his four mouths. So that's inscribed, as you see, one by one. That mantra, the Kama Gayatri mantra, with Kleem at the center, is text 27. So this is a preview. We'll discuss it in detail when we get to text 27. But what you see here makes that yantra, the color yantra at the very beginning, now translated. All the parts are there. Hare Krishna. Any discussion? Yes.
Maharaj, there is a question online.
Okay. There's a question in the audience too. After you.
Yes, it's from Premananda Mataji. She says, the planet of the Surabhi cows, is it in Goloka or is there one similar in the material realm? Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu writes that Indra went to Surabhi's planet and pleased her repeatedly and brought her with him, being afraid to approach Krishna after offending him. So the question is, the planet of the Surabhi cows, is it in Goloka or is there one similar in the material world?
I don't know the answer to that. As far as I know, there's not one in the material world. I mean, the one that's in the material world is where the Govardhan Hill is, the same place where Indra made his offense. And I don't know of another one besides that one, the planet of the Surabhi cows. The only other one that I know of is in Goloka. And by what is the eligibility for Indra to go to Goloka to invite a Surabhi cow to descend with him to Gokula to pacify Krishna? I don't have the answer to that. I don't know of another one. I could try to research it, but I don't think I'll find anything. Maybe in their commentary of the Acharyas they say something about the Gopal Champu, the planet of the Surabhi cows. Can't answer the question.
Two questions. First, you gave an example of this hue, the yellow, blue,
yes.
red and white.
Yes.
We understood yellow refers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as far as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explained to us. Well, what are the examples of white, red and blue?
I asked this question of Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, who gave the same answer I just gave. I don't know. Meaning, what do we know is what we hear from our acharyas. And there's no mention by our acharyas that I'm aware of or that he's aware of that expands what the reasonable, it would seem like kind of answer is the yuga avatars in each of the four yugas have their original abode in Svetadweep. And the Lord who descends into this world delivering the yuga dharma would be that same Lord who has these different hues. But it's not, there's no elaboration. So I can't say. And I have found Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj not only to have well-researched things, but he's like a human encyclopedia. He's an amazing personality. And when I raised that question in dialogue with him, he didn't know of any scriptural reference either. So I can't elaborate.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Another confusion, maybe that's in just my mind. Outside of these 4 parameters, where we see this Vasudeva, Aniruddha, and you said Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. How can Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha be above Narayan? Because that's
It's not the language of your question is itself misleading. So we'll
Okay.
back up. It's not that they're above Narayan. Rather, the perfection of, the ultimate attainment of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha are found in Svetadvip,
I see.
as mentioned, according to Jiva Goswami. The way in which Nanda Maharaj executed his Vaishya duties are found in their perfection, in that Goloka realm, and so forth. So there are others that do those activities less than perfection and with material motivation. There's no material motivation found, but rather in Goloka, but the perfection of those are found in Goloka. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Maharaji. You give an example of Prema Bhakta is Hanuman.
Yes.
Now, people unknowingly worship him as a demigod. So, question is it still okay to worship him, worship Hanuman as he is a pure devotee?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes is the obvious part, and no because our tendencies are commonly otherwise than seeing him as a pure devotee. Just by conditioning, by cultural conditioning. So the yes part is fine. Just like we may worship Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and there's, but they indicate worship Krishna. And Hanuman will indicate worship Ram. So we worship Ram. Or, as here, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. We worship them together. So there's no confusion. Hanuman would want to be seen as the servitor of Ram. So that's how we should view Hanuman, along with Ram, and worship him that way. Okay? Yes?
There's one more question online, Maharaj. It's from Premananda Mataji again.
Yes.
She says, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, are they Lord Krishna's energies or expansions?
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
She says, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, are they Lord Krishna's energies or expansions?
They're Shakti Tattva, his energy.
Maharaj, my question is, we say like jivas are, the ultimate goal of jivas is to reach Goloka. In this description, if jivas after they get purified, where they are situated in Goloka as jivas?
Depends on their relationship with Krishna, where they're situated.
Okay. We understand like all the different entities are expansions of Radha and Krishna in Goloka. So since jivas are separate, they are not like expansions. So from that understanding point of view, how I'm trying to understand like what is the position of jivas in Goloka?
There's unlimited jivas in Goloka. There's unlimited Shaktis in Goloka. Goloka is a big place, and there's room for everybody. And it's not like no jivas allowed. There's unlimited jivas in Goloka, perfected jivas in Goloka. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Over here? On the ladies' side? Oh, you have one. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a few questions. In the lecture we talked about the Shuddha Bhakta, Prema Bhakta, Prema Para Bhakta, all these different bhaktas. And then we heard the description that they are not in Goloka, but they are in other places where the Lord reciprocates according to their mood.
There's a crossover. You know what a Venn diagram is?
Yes.
You know what it is? So this is an example of a Venn diagram. There are, at least if I understand your question, if I understand your question correctly, Mathura and Dwarka are in Goloka. At the same time, in the purport, Bhaktisiddhanta is saying those two, as well as the other three, are in the realm of Vaikuntha. So there's a part of Vaikuntha mood that is majesty in Dwarka, to a lesser degree, but still to some degree, in Mathura. So they're in Goloka, or Gokula, but there's a degree of the mood of majesty in those two realms. So they're like Vaikuntha. Is that what your question is? No.
Yes,
Yes.
But I had something more.
Okay.
So if they are, so is it a question of their mood or is it a question of some contamination?
Mood.
Okay. I had another question, Maharaj. So when we read...
It's like Uddhava. For example, outside of Vrindavan, in this Svetadweep region, Uddhava is considered topmost in intimacy and every other way. He was overwhelmed by the intensity of love, the quality of love. It's not like Uddhava is lacking in purity.
Yeah.
It's a different mood. And appreciating the intensity of selflessness and absorption in Krishna. He who has the superlative absorption in Krishna was amazed. So it's mood, it's not purity or contamination.
And Maharaj, also we heard about dharma, artha, kama and moksha, and we find that the perfection of that is in service to Krishna. So when we are practicing as over here as devotees, so there can be a lot of confusions about prescribed duties and about, how can we dovetail everything to the Lord. So what mood should we carry? How do we be on the right track?
The mood to carry is honesty. Like an honest recognition of, this is where I am, and I know what the goal is, and it's not where I am right now. And so I gave a Sunday feast lecture in Chicago on response to a question somebody had asked earlier that weekend on needs and wants. And so just like a quick summary of all of that is, in the absolute sense, all we need is Krishna. In the less than perfect stage, we have our needs. The fourfold human requirements. Or, you have to eat and sleep and at least those two things. But how much do we need to eat and how much do we need to sleep? Or then other things, how much do we need acknowledgement from others, affection and social needs, and etc., etc. So that's just like, it's stuff that we don't really need, ultimately, absolutely. But in order to function in a sustainable way, there's a certain amount of sleep that we need, and a certain amount of eating that we need, and a certain amount of social needs and civic needs. It's going to be discussed in the last verses in a kind of a detailed way. Bhaktisiddhanta lays out, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur does, there's different functions that we perform. Social, emotional, and so forth. And the understanding presented there is, we as devotees are following nivritti, which is we're attempting to minimize, according to, with honesty, that which is I can sustain my efforts in devotion to Krishna, always looking to, whenever it's realistic to do so, to diminish and diminish on the strength of increasing and increasing the mood of devotion, the quality of devotion, not necessarily the how many rounds I chant or how much time I spend with one area, the other area, but the fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment, results in a less sense of need. But so where do we strike the balance is that which is sustainable, with the expectation and practically the experience that as we spiritually progress, our needs diminish. Worldly needs diminish. We still may have this and that, like Lord Chaitanya. He would perform his daily duties like routine, but internally his absorption was in Krishna. So like that, one may go on where it's no longer a need, but we do things. Not like absent-mindedly do things, but not with the same sense of neediness that we have now. Right? In order to be peaceful and carry on in my devotional service in a sustainable way, I have to do these things, and I have to have these things in order to be peaceful. So we adjust, we monitor, and try to minimize so that we can maximize our spiritual focus. And those things that we do accept, see them as a gift from Krishna to help me carry out my service to Krishna in a peaceful way, as much as my little mind can be peaceful. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, here we read about these 5 types of devotees.
Yes.
One of them is Suddha Bhakta, or the perfection attained by sadhana bhakti.
Yes.
And it's described that they also have a residence in Vaikuntha, but
Yes.
not the center of the lotus, like in the Golok.
Correct.
But then we also hear by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and by gradual purification of sadhana bhakti, we'll eventually attain Goloka realm, or the center.
There's a little step that you just didn't say, but you know it's there because you've read Nectar Devotion. And that is, from sadhana bhakti, from Vaidhi sadhana bhakti comes Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Now it may not come. And if it doesn't come, then Vaikuntha is the destination. But if it does come through the association with Rupa Goswami and followers of Rupa Goswami, Raga Nuga Sadhana Bhakti will come, and Vaidhi Bhakti will continue along with Raga Nuga Sadhana Bhakti. So you just study it, and then followers of Rupa Goswami are blessed. What did we do? We just woke up one day and we got all this amazing fortune by becoming followers of Rupa Goswami, by the mercy of our founder Acharya and his followers. So we have that very, 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 very rare and special and unique facility if we take it up properly. Yeah?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. First of all, I would really like to thank you for all these sessions. Thanks a lot. You have really assimilated such hard information, and we can easily take it on. So thank you for that thing. And then again, I have also two questions. One is related to Mataji's, both asked. We say that these all 5 types of bhaktas, they cannot even enter Golok. So my question is, or concern is, what is hope for, I would say just for myself? You just now said that we are very blessed with, because we are followers of Rupa Goswami.
Just stay faithful to Rupa Goswami. That's your hope.
Right, just doing chanting.
Not just chanting. In addition to chanting, as you become purified through chanting, and you take the Bhakti Shastri course, you call it something else here, but Bhakti Shastri course, and you learn from Rupa Goswami what the subsequent stages of the unfolding of the flower of bhakti is, the creeper of bhakti, you'll learn. And you continue chanting and you learn what Rupa Goswami is giving, the gift that he's giving on behalf of Lord Chaitanya. And that other additional stage will also be taken up. And if that doesn't happen in this lifetime, no problem, because we need lots of cleansing in this lifetime. And we'll continue where we left off in our next lifetime, whatever it takes. And it can happen in this one lifetime. Depends on how carefully we do our devotional practices and how strong is the connection with the line of disciplic succession that's giving this wonderful gift. It's up to us. But, subsequent, yes, that's the hope.
Okay. My another question is, when in the PowerPoint you shows those tridents, I was thinking when we visited Mayapur, with every temple we saw Lord Shiva's temple. Does those tridents represents Lord Shiva's
Yes.
related to them?
Not exactly, but yes. I mean, in other words, it's not that only Lord Shiva can hold the trident. But, given what you had said, it's part of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta both re-established the place of the Lord Chaitanya's pastimes because they were lost to the world. It was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's calling, or one of his many, is to restore the places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, which he also in turn passed on to his son. So as they did, they had this understanding that in order to enter into, not just go and, like a tourist and take a picture and send pictures back to your relatives. I went and visited this place. But to enter into, one needs blessings. And unqualified people are kept out by the same. So, Kshetrapal, the protector of the Dham, Lord Shiva, just like at the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the backside. And Dhameshwara, Mahadev, the protector. So they're known by some names in Vrindavan, they're known by other names in Mayapur or Navadvip, but the same function. But like at our Sridham Mayapur, we don't have a Lord Shiva temple like that. Prabhupada didn't instruct us to do that. And at least as long as I'm a GBC member alive, we're not going to do that in Mayapur. Prabhupada didn't instruct us to do that. But still, it's part of the Navadvip Parikrama that we pay our respects at the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to that form of Lord Shiva who can give us entrance, etc. Okay? Anything else?
No, that will be
Okay.
all. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
So following on the same question of Shyamala
Same
Mataji.
question. Okay.
So if we see that Maharaj Parikshit, the Maharaj Ambarish, if he has ended up in Vaikuntha, but once can they change their mode of service and still go back to Goloka if they wish from Vaikuntha?
Tamal Krishna Maharaj is famous for repeating this very question, asking Srila Prabhupada, is it possible? And Prabhupada's answer was yes. And his answer was, the spiritual world is not static, it's ecstatic. So for that to happen, it requires some association. But it's possible. And through association, such desires can awaken, etc. So for us, it's academic, meaning we already have the needed association. Okay?
I had a few questions. If you have time, then, or at least one or two.
It's 9 o'clock. Go ahead.
Just extension to what Navkishori was asked when you responded to that question about that we be peaceful, the execution of our duties to the extent that we increase our spiritual, and maximize the spiritual side.
Correct.
So we can, in accordance, minimize the
Yes, correct.
material execution of duty. That's one is about our own selves to do that, but then we have the duties that we have to do to others, whether
Yes.
in the family, etc.
Sure, social. Sure.
So those, while we might be increasing spiritually, and we can minimize what we need for our own selves, but what we need to do for others, social or family, that.
You do that, so but it's part of life, isn't it?
Yeah. So that has to be.
Sure, it has to be factored. But let's just take the example of Lord Chaitanya instructing Raghunath Das Goswami. Go back, perform your duties as if you're attached, but inwardly cultivate attraction for Krishna. And so he did that. And surely, Krishna will show his mercy upon you and like that.
Okay. What was confusing for me was Nanda Maharaj is, so that perfection of his duties, because sometimes if we are hearing that actually the highest Goloka Dharma means there is no question of duties, it's just spontaneous, complete attraction to.
Yeah, it's not about for him. It's not about don't mix your situation with
now
Nanda Maharaj.
basically it's another aspect.
Okay, so we're on to another.
Yeah.
He's not performing duty. He's performing the perfection of Dharma. Pure love for Krishna, because what's the purpose? Awaken attraction for Krishna. He doesn't need to awaken attraction for Krishna.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any duty to perform. He's doing the full fruit of Dharma. That's Nanda Maharaj.
But he's still doing his dharma, or is that's why I couldn't.
Please don't get stuck in time and space. It's the perfection. We're not there. We're doing we need to do. He doesn't need to do anything. He's doing. Out of love for Krishna, he's doing. That's the perfection. Next question.
The next question was, can you elaborate on Shakti Tattva as compared to Jiva Tattva? Because you said Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are Shakti Tattva. So because when we say Lord expands in his personal expansions as Vishnu Tattva, and then the separated children are like the Jiva Tattva. So how does Shakti Tattva?
I can't do too much to satisfy you, your question.
Okay.
What I have heard is that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda are not positions that someone can occupy, like Lord Brahma is a position,
Right.
a post.
Yeah.
They're not posts, nor are they jivas. They're eternally part of Krishna's entourage, representing his Shakti, the Shakti of parental love, mother and father. In that sense, Shakti Tattva. But I can't elaborate more than that. It's not a jiva with a post, it's Shakti. Now others may also, like the earlier question, they may be jivas who are assisting, like Putana,
That's
achieved the position of one of the maidservants of Yashoda in the spiritual world. Jiva, assisting Mother Yashoda, Shakti, Tattva. No problem. What else?
The four Vedas, I
Further.
missed that part of how the four Vedas are also at the, what's the position of the four, what's the understanding of why the four Vedas are there in the Dham?
I thought I answered that, but I can repeat it.
Yeah, I missed that part, sorry.
On this level, the four Vedas are primarily the repository of karmakanda rituals for persons who want satisfaction on this plane and elevation after this life to the heavenly realm. Largely, that's what the four Vedas are. In the Goloka realm, there's only one thing: glorification of Krishna. That's all. That's all. That's all. You can say the personified Vedas, glorifying Krishna, where we have these descriptions of Krishna in the spiritual world. That's what they're doing. Simply glorifying Krishna, that's all. They're not teaching how to get this benediction, that benediction. Okay? Is that it? At the end of your questions? Okay, we're going to break for breakfast. Huh? Huh? Okay, but what about the people that are online that are thinking? We can tell them. We tell them right now. Okay. Okay. So let's do the two online ones because they're probably quick, yes?
Yeah, the first one is from, again, it's a question from Premananda Mataji. She asks, Hrim is known as the Bija mantra for addressing Srimati Radharani. I saw in the slideshow Hrim next to the 4 quadruple expansions of Krishna. Why is it there instead of Klim?
I don't have the answer to that question. If she's asking the same question that Nanda Sutta asked yesterday, in that in that internal region, let's go to the. I don't have the answer to that. Next question.
Next question is from Pratul Patel. Question is, we the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if it matters, should we aspire to go to Goloka or Shvetadvip, Mahaprabhu's abode?
Take your pick. You'll go to both. So you want to announce?
So we will resume at 10 o'clock and online. Please come back at 10 o'clock Pacific. Thank you, Hare Krishna.